Welcome back to Quantum Conversations. My name is Sarah, and today my co-host Carrie Bennett and I are going to be making these complex topics of quantum biology and circadian biology understandable to the everyday person. Thank you so much for tuning in. We ask that if you are listening on audio only, that you take a moment to leave us up to a 5-star review. And if you're on YouTube, leave us a like, leave us a comment. It will help to get the show out to more people. And before we jump into today's topic, just a quick reminder to head down to the show notes and check out my free resources as well as Carrie's free resources. We also do have courses on a variety of topics. If you are hoping to dive deeper, Carrie and I both have practitioner courses available as well for anyone who wants to begin to bring these topics to their clients and help them to implement these strategies into their daily lives. So check those out. We also have a co-taught course called Quantum Fertility that is available that allows people and practitioners to work on their fertility using these principles of quantum biology and circadian biology. Again, thank you so much for listening or watching today's show, whichever one you are doing. And let's go ahead and jump into it now. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Quantum Conversations. It is the first real week of January-ish.
Yeah, after the holidays, right? The first real back to work week.
Yeah, because New Year's was in the middle of the week, so it kind of just everyone was like, "Hey, Happy New Year!" But okay, yeah.
Now it's the weekend.
Now yesterday was Monday. Today's Monday or Tuesday, and people are listening to this live on Friday. So kind of like, all right, there's a lot of pressure out there to revamp your life and set all the goals.
Your diet and
go to dry January and go vegan or go carnivore, like World Carnivore Month. And maybe there's I think value to some of that, but
reducing alcohol intake, right?
Correct. That's always, I've had a dry January that's lasted over 8 years now. Highly recommend. But yeah, getting rid of sugar, processed foods, always positive, but this massive overhaul. I don't know. There's been some interesting posts about this on social media, as I mentioned, but like you just said, it's not really in our biology to reinvent ourselves this time of year, especially if you're in the Northern Hemisphere.
Well, exactly. I did a social media post last year around the solstice time, and I said, it's okay if you still want to hunker down. And it's okay if you want to be more introspective. And it's because this is technically the start of the Gregorian calendar year, right? Mm-hmm. January. But if you just view it from a seasonal aspect, animals are still in hibernation mode. Everyone is still in hunker down mode. And it's not until those first few warm, brighter days of spring that all the life comes out, And I don't know when that happens for you, but for me, it's mid-March. Mm-hmm. It's wow. Okay. Now we're talking about me wanting to feel maybe more motivated to move my body in a different way or go through a cleanse, a fast, something where I'm okay, maybe I was eating heavier foods, soups and stews and heavier foods in the winter. Now, what does it feel like for me to go through a phase of eating lighter food for a little bit, just give my digestion a chance to reset differently. It's that for me, especially now that I've synced my circadian rhythm for so many years, that is the transition I always feel. Mm-hmm. This time of year literally means nothing to me because I still feel like I want to be very introspective and embrace winter.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm no, I can't believe I used to always try to force myself to go to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning because it was the only time, if I get this done at 5 a.m., then I have the rest of the day. I get the reasoning behind it.
Sure.
But it's so against our winter biology to do something like that, so incredibly against our biology.
It is. And so I don't want, I want to give people permission here that if they see family members or friends who are just, like you said, making these resolutions, that likely are, with their best interest at heart, right? Positive intentions. It's okay. It's okay if you don't want that to be you right now. And I still view this as a time, if you want to work on anything, I view this as a time to kind of go deep and see what ingrained thought patterns I have.
I love
Right?
that. The programs. Yeah.
What are the programs?
Yeah.
You and I were
Yeah.
just mentioned before we got on this, we mentioned Joe Dispenza, right? That's someone to go deeper into if this resonates with you, because he really has laid out some amazing work on how we have the majority of our thoughts are the same on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
And those same thoughts drive the same biophysics and biochemistry, gene expression, organ function, right? And so if we truly want to make a shift and a change, we got to see which programmed thoughts that are on repeat day in and day out are potentially holding us back.
Right.
And, he goes a lot into a lot more depth than I just did there, and gives some really great meditations, which I highly encourage people to look into, because I think that's where it starts. There's a reason. Now, you and I have been in, like, I owned a gym, you worked at one, right? There's a reason why the first 3 weeks of January are packed. And then boom. Just like that, it dwindles and completely disappears. So, again, best of intentions, but maybe there is something else we could have done in addition to that behavioral change. Maybe there's other thought programming we could have shifted first, because that is, I find, such a bigger bang for the buck. And frankly, I'm at this point where I realize that I'm experiencing this universe as a means of learning and evolving my body, my soul, my mind. And I think we're given challenges throughout our lives as a means of addressing them and finding and learning from them and growing from them and becoming, a stronger person from them. And so that to me seems like perfect winter work right there, going in and kind of making those assessments. What patterns are on repeat? What can I learn from them? And the number of times I've had some people who take me up on this when I recommend it to them, it's like, oh, forgiveness. There's really a common theme that starts to appear. And that is true, powerful work this time of year.
Yeah, it really is. And that's, I haven't really done a lot of one-to-one work with people since I was pregnant. I just haven't had the energy capacity to do it, but I'm doing a small group coaching that's starting at the end of this month. And I'm just starting to really meet with the people that have signed up and really talk with them and do a full inquiry. And we just had this conversation also off camera. I think, one of the things that I was just discussing with someone this morning is like, what's the program that you're giving your body, rather than it has to be this regimented plan, which I'm going to give them like a nutrition plan, and I'll give them all the plan, the light, the strategies, but like underneath this plan, what is going on here? Like, what are your thoughts about this? What is your program running? And then what information are you giving your body? Because not to oversimplify, but also to simplify, your body is a result of the information that it's been given, the information up here, the information of light, the information of food, the information of sound, the information of everything. It's all a result of this information. And we always just think it's the food. It's part of it. It's like a little part of it. Yes. But overall, like, what's the program what's the information that you're running in the body? And I think people are they want the light strategy, the food strategy, got you covered. But like, also there's this other huge part of like, what are you giving your cells instruction to do? Do they think you're under some sort of threat that you need to be preserving, and causing you to leak energy essentially and swell and have inflammation because there's some sort of a threat that's going on, right?
Oh yeah, totally. I think, came to this conclusion when we were doing our first quantum fertility cohort.
Yeah.
And that's when we shifted. We did have a module on what we called mindset, right? And we shifted that to the very beginning of week one, because physical shifts can't change until the energetic thought shifts are really truly in place, or at least simultaneously working on them.
Yes.
Again, Joe Dispenza and other people really truly are the experts at this. This time, just kind of, reinstating this. But here's, in a nutshell, here's why. We live in a field of endless possibilities. you as Sarah Kleiner have abundant possibilities to allow your life to transform into whatever you desire. Mm-hmm. However, that does require a thought and an emotion to pull us. It's almost like those are how we kind of start to narrow the possibilities into a certain direction. It's called kind of like collapsing the wave or field of possibilities and bringing us closer to what we desire. If our thoughts are continuously running in, I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick, or I can't get pregnant, I can't get pregnant, I can't get pregnant. Well, then those thoughts are attached to a feeling. And those thoughts do influence the physical body, but the feeling itself, emotions are magnetic. They are a magnetic field. So if you put out that emotion continuously, what emotion or what experience do you think you're going to bring back to you? Exactly. Right? And so it's this idea that it sounds woo as heck, but it's powerful. And no, I didn't start off with doing a 20-minute silent meditation and, to clear my thoughts. I really did start with, let me envision, the thriving state that I want to be in. Let me write it down. Let me feel it. So there are things you can do, and exercises you can do. Again, look to Joe Dispenza. He's the one you're going to find the most stuff out there for sure. That's why I keep going back to him. But there are ways that you can kind of go through guided meditations to help to really transform how you think on a day-to-day basis. And I know we've literally talked about this so much, but when you understand water in the body, you realize your thoughts matter, your emotions matter, and you're an antenna. Yes. And so that's because water serves, and water changes based on thoughts and emotions. And water is an antenna, both a transmitter and a receiver. And so that's why this type of work can be so powerful. And I know, has this come out yet? Has this podcast come out with Bill Bankston yet? Your podcast with Bill?
No, it doesn't come out till it comes out the Wednesday after next. So Friday that this will come out, the next following Wednesday. But yeah.
Oh, okay. That's perfect timing then. So next week. Yeah. So tune into that podcast with Dr. Bill Bankston and Sarah, because it's going to blow your mind when you interviewed him, and then you kind of told me about it. I dove deep into that stuff. I went through his course and all.
Wow, you did.
You know me, right?
I love it. I love the interview. You're like, I did his course. I'm like, well, okay, cool.
It's great. No, I love this stuff. But it is gonna blow your mind how when we have a different image of us running through our brains in the background, because this is in the background. Maybe it starts as being in the foreground, right? We might have to really delineate what this looks like for us. So list the person you want to be. List as though you're that person in real time, right? You are already that person. And then, over time, that actually just starts to permeate who you are. And you already view yourself as that. And so and that, again, collapses your reality. And so if you're going to do anything this time of year, look into that type of work. Yeah.
Rather than going into the masculine of like the doing and the making, and there's nothing wrong with that at all.
No.
Nothing wrong with it. And there's a collective energy of that right now. So I understand the draw to it.
That yang energy is summer. That's right. We're still dark. We're still cold.
I almost
we're still
joined him, and then I was like, no, I'll just build one or not. I don't know. I didn't.
I still love walks, right? For me, these winter hikes are I love them. And that's not all I do. I've really figured out various exercises for posture, core, muscle activation, calisthenic-y type stuff, energy flow, but that's, you get it. That's after 20 years of
being an instructor,
physical stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I don't want to take a boot camp class right now.
I just want to start doing a little bit of weight training again. Just, turning 46 this year. And I used to have a lot more muscle than I do. I'm like just thin. And I'm like, really want to put some muscle back on the body. So
strength, that muscle is longevity, right? That is strength and longevity.
But I had no desire to go get under blue lights and be in the gym with a bunch of people. So I'm like, I got equipment here. I know what to do.
Just start small and
easy stuff. Easy stuff. Yeah.
And go with what resonates with you, no need to put, so interestingly, right? Let's talk about this from kind of a seasonal and then biochemical perspective.
Yes.
When we're in build mode, we need to activate building muscle. We have to activate building pathways in the body.
Yes.
And those build pathways, we got two different kinds. So let's just make this a dichotomy. We got two different pathways. We can either be building tissue or breaking tissue down.
Mm-hmm.
We can be anabolic or we can be catabolic. And in order to be anabolic and build muscle, we have to stimulate certain pathways. So yeah, we have to break our muscles down to the point where there's those mini micro tears, and we gotta get the signal that something needs to be repaired. Yeah. But we also then need to give it the substrate of repair, right? And so that does mean typically for people eating more. Stimulating mTOR, which is a pathway for building with protein, stimulating insulin, even a little bit more for some people. And that could be done with protein, but also can be done with carbohydrates, which is why typically that mTOR pathway, that's a summer pathway.
Exactly.
More availability. I'm still in AMPK. I'm still more of in like a breakdown,
wanting
like autophagy.
A little bit more, sleep more.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was.
Desire to eat past 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
No, I really don't. Well, because then I don't feel like I sleep as well. I mean, that's just, my husband's on that kick too, just because we both started doing it. So number one, we don't like to eat past dark because we're chasing children. Well, sure. And someone's always trying to jump off something, break something. I'm like, I got no desire to sit down and try to eat right now because I'm not even going to be able to chew my food or enjoy it. And it's dark. And then if you put them to bed and then eat at 8 o'clock, you're going to sleep like crap. And so he's like me. We're like 4 o'clock, 3:30, we're eating. And yeah, that's that.
I know. Like I've had, my husband, there'll be like a football game. He's like, let's order pizza for the game. And it's like, gosh, eating pizza at like 7 o'clock. Number one, I'd be very choosy about what pizza I ate. But number two, it would be like maybe in the summer, occasionally, like a later meal like that, I'd have no problem with, or like a family barbecue, eating no problem.
Yeah, we did pizza on Mother's Day this last year. I think that's the last time we did pizza because I had my whole family over here. Sarah was here. She went to try some American pizza. So we.
Oh yeah. But she needs to realize different regions have different styles.
Oh yeah. Because down here it's going to be, I know we'll get some people.
What's your favorite style?
In Atlanta, you're not going to, go to Chicago, go to New York. There's
deep dish. Yeah. So New York for our international listeners, right? Yeah. Yep. New York is huge slices that you have to fold in half to eat.
I like those.
When I was visiting friends in New York, I liked those too back in the day. Yeah. I did Pilates certification in New York and I always looked forward to getting a big slice of pizza there.
Oh, nice.
And then Chicago, deep dish, like thick. Oh, yeah. Detroit has something that is more of a thick crust, but it's all about the square pizzas and square crust in Detroit. Although Little Caesars is from
Little Caesars used to do the square crust
because that's a Detroit. Okay. Mike Illich started Little Caesars and he's from Detroit. So anyways, pizza, but so she needs to come back and experience the different regions
all the
of
ones.
Pizza.
Which, by the way, somebody told me that I think it's Pizza Hut. Their biggest pizza day is January 13th. Their biggest day of the year for sales is January 13th.
2 weeks of starving myself, and now I'm going to eat pizza.
I don't find this. I don't know.
It's
I don't know if this person's just pulling my leg, telling me this. It's one of the brands I work for, and he is like, "Wow, this is the time, January, because everyone's going to be ordering pizza on the 13th." I'm like, I'd like to see that.
I would love to see that. More than the Super Bowl.
Supposedly everybody breaks down on their resolution at that point, and then the pizza delivery goes crazy.
Well, that also coincides, at least historically, with that end of the college football season. Lately they've had college football championship about 2 weeks into January or so. So maybe that all comes together. It's like, I've been really strict for 2 weeks. It's a college football championship. Let me just,
and they order the pizza.
Whatever. I don't know. That's coming from a football family, so I don't know. But that's interesting. That's all I can think of in terms of mid-January Why?
We want to talk a little bit about why we both use more red light therapy in the winter really quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Come summer, it is so easy for me to pop outside for 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, take the clothes off and just soak up the natural light, right? And I know you do, I know you do the same. And it's beautiful because we're getting all of those red and near infrared wavelengths from the sun and imparting all those healing benefits from sunlight. But come, November, December in Michigan, there's very little opportunity for me to do that. It's just too cold, and so I'll go outside and get my light signaling through my eyes, but my skin really, that infrared and red that I want to absorb through my skin is just lacking. And so that's why I would highly recommend, if you live in an environment like that, you consider using a red light therapy panel in the winter. It can be the biggest game changer.
Yeah. And we both love the Boncharge Mini. This is super convenient. You can take it with you traveling. You guys don't know when I'm recording the podcast, half the time I have it on my low back or somewhere in my body to mitigate some of this blue light. And for the months of November and December, you can use the code QuantumPod25 for November and December only to get 25% off the panel or anything on the Boncharge website. Carrie and I are both big fans.
Yeah. And one more thing really quickly with that. It's a great gift too, right? If you want to start getting people involved in this lifestyle and say it's the most convenient way, if there's a mom that you know who needs to tend to boo-boos and aches and pains for kids or earaches, tummy aches, sore throats, it's a phenomenal gift to give as well because it really can wipe away pain very fast.
I love it. All right, check it out. Link is in the show notes. I think that's kind of the message we're giving with this episode is if you don't feel like going on a crazy ass diet or exercise program or pushing yourself really hard right now to make all these changes, that's totally normal. And I love this whole piece of, because that's what I've been doing. I've been going back to some of my roots of Louise Hay, listening to her stuff. And I think combining, because she's big on like the affirmations, and I think affirmations are great, but you have to believe them because 100%. You can just say an affirmation over and over again and just like not believe it. And they're like, affirmations don't work. They're nonsense. And I think it's this disconnect of like, I'm just saying it and it's not landing. I can't envision my life, what this would look like if this actually happened. Like things that I'm wanting to bring in, when I have something like that, I will imagine myself there. Like, what does it smell like? What does it feel like? What are my children doing there? How are they reacting in this situation? I can hear them talking and their excitement about it. And like, that's kind of the way that I do it. And it's really worked. Like, it's shocking. Like, oh, I didn't know that was possible, but that's how even from getting pregnant with James, I've talked about that so many times. Like, I envisioned the process. Now, has everything been hunky dory, smooth, amazing? No.
It never is.
No, that's called life. And
it might not be on your timeline. Right. That's the other thing about this whole kind of, we're talking about manifestation. It's, you might want it within the next month, but the timeline isn't necessarily up to you.
Correct. Yeah.
I do. I love that idea because I love affirmations too, but I do think the most important part of the affirmation is, like you said, embodying it, feeling it, really, truly seeing it. So,
yeah. So I've been trying to do more of that myself and just like reprogramming, noticing. I think just noticing, getting into a spiral of like dropping something and then getting mad about it. And then like something else dropping. And then all of a sudden something fell off a shelf and a kid is screaming and you're like, really? And you're like, I can't believe that just happened. And it's energy, you kind of start this negative chain of events and feed into it. And I feel like you really attract more of it.
I've had that experience, and I know other people have had as well, but also the reverse is true. So that's really what we're hoping people to see.
You can turn it around. You can turn it around. When I wake up in the morning, I will just be like, this is a really good day. This is an amazing day. Like, good things are ahead of me and I'm excited for the day, excited for possibilities. And just trying to do more of that rather than I'm going to go nothing wrong with going to the gym, working out, all that stuff. But yeah, rather than what were you?
Well, no, you're right. It's like there's a difference between waking up and emotionally, living your desired day versus going through the
checklist.
Right. Change the kitty litter, pack the kids' lunches, but like a checklist is very different. Right. And so this is true. It's like, if you can start your day embodied in joy, abundance, gratitude.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It does make a difference.
I try it becomes more natural as you do it.
Yeah.
But with my kids, I'm like, gosh, I'm so blessed to be with them here. I don't have to go across town to work in an office. I'm so blessed. I'm just constantly affirming how blessed I am for the stuff that's, the things that I have. For me, wealth is being with my children and having a life where I don't have to be dictated. My time isn't constantly dictated by someone else. That's wealth to me. And so
100%.
I continue to just express gratitude for it, and more of it continues to show up. That sounds, again, very woo-woo, and it's not. I hope no one's taking it as, oh, she's bragging, because I just want you to have it too. That's right. Everything that I think you and I talk about is not bragging or any. It's just like, we want you to know it's possible, and you can also have this. You can have things in your life if you change this programming, if you change the information that you're sending your body, your cells all of the time, and that you're also sending out.
Yeah,
it's possible.
Absolutely. Well, and then acknowledging. So I was, here's my example. I was driving my oldest son. It's about a 20-minute drive or so to a basketball practice. I dropped him off at a basketball practice, and I was in not my best typical mood. I don't remember why. I was just kind of feeling a little bleh. And I dropped it off, and I was like, okay, there's this one Joe Dispenza 15-minute morning meditation that I haven't done in a little while. Let me just put it in the car while I'm driving. And they say to close your eyes during the meditation, but don't do that while you're driving, right? But, just kind of, I've done those things enough to kind of be able to put out the feeling, right, without having my eyes closed. Because that's what it is. It's about the envisioning and the feeling. And so, like, I'm pulling into the parking lot of the grocery store, and I'm like, okay, I'm feeling good. Just like, I get the parking spot that's right up front. And it's like, thank you. It's like you continue to acknowledge gratitude. I'm in this long line, and I'm like, I've got literally 10 minutes to get out of here to be able to get my son on time. And he worries, right? He's my worry about that stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, ooh, do I abandon the grocery cart? Because I don't know this. I'm in this super long line. One of the employees taps me on the shoulder, and he's like, ma'am, I'm opening this line up. Why don't you bring your cart over here?
Nice.
It's like, thank you. Right. And it's just like, so it's about living it, changing your thoughts and your feelings, living it, and then expressing gratitude and knowing like it's that the next level is being aware of when it appears. Because I didn't win the lotto, right? That wasn't my abundance. Right. My abundance was a really convenient parking spot, getting through the checkout line very quickly, right? I mean, like those sorts of things. And so again, just being aware of how it may show up in your life. It might not look exactly as you envision, but it will show up as you need it. Right. And so another little thing about that whole kind of embodying it and then being alert for it. And I'm not even alert for it, but like when it comes now, when something like that shows up, cool. I would have even thought of it, but now I'm like, thanks for that parking spot.
Yeah. Little things, little synchronicity. Why can I not talk? Synchronicities. They will show up, and I always laugh. I'm like, oh, cool. You just stay in this state of wonder rather than anger and fear. And the fear still shows up. I don't want anyone to think I don't get scared or have intrusive thoughts.
Or get angry at times.
Oh, God. Mama gets mad sometimes.
Emotions are healthy. Emotions are healthy.
I think, Irene talks about that, like healthy anger. But I do still get scared, and I'm still like, God, this is so wonderful. What if it's gone? I lose it. And I was listening to Louise Hay this weekend, and she said, you thank yourself that's a protective mechanism that yourself is trying to do. You're like, no, thank you for trying to protect me. But I'm okay. And I'm really grateful for this, and just go about being happy, but I still get the thoughts and I still have the fears, and I don't have this all figured out by any means, but it's wow, the life I used to live and is so incredibly different now.
Same.
And it's so easy for us to just get into that spiral of like, this goes wrong and then this goes wrong. And then it just keeps on building and building. And why does everything always go wrong for me? And just staying in that kind of energy. But you don't have to be there forever. I used to live in that kind of energy all the time. And it's like, why does my car always break down? Why do I always pop my tires? Literally, I popped so many tires. And perhaps I need to work on my driving, but also random
or maybe it stopped you from having an accident, right?
Yeah. I would get nails in my tire like all the time. My husband's like, how does someone get so many freaking nails in their tires? And I'm like, I don't know. It just was this thing. And yeah, problems that I used to have, I don't have anymore. Yeah. I'd have different problems, but
it's a journey. It's never a destination. It's
always an opportunity to learn, and always an opportunity to be aware of, like you said, the water. I think it all comes back to the water. And when you look at Veda Austin's work, when you look at a lot of the stuff that you've been putting out lately has just been fantastic.
Thank you.
I mean, there's just a lot of really wonderful information out there about water, how it behaves, and how like you said, it's an antenna. And it's a receiver, and we're just big, giant bags of it, honestly.
And we want it to be structured. I'm putting this video out in, I think, one of my next 3 things newsletters, right? On Mondays, I'm sending out 3 things that I have found cool. And this video was one that I saw a long time ago. And it's this, I think this guy's a college professor, but he does almost like a little skit during his lectures. And this particular lecture was about the sound of molecules that molecules make. So think about this, right? Everything emits light, and light's just a very fast vibrating wave, and sound's a slower vibrating wave. So you can essentially find this vibration at a lower harmonic. And so you can bring it into the audible range. Does that make sense? Right? It's like light's a higher harmonic of sound, or sound's a lower harmonic of light.
Yes.
And so he kind of talks about that he has another video where he talks about that a little bit more, but this video, and then he talks about essentially listening to the sounds of molecules. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. And he slows it down, but then he puts it in the background of liquid water. And in water itself, when the water isn't structured at all, essentially it sounds really fuzzy and chaotic. And he says, now listen as we transform the liquid water, into a crystal. Now, he didn't say structured water. He didn't say liquid crystalline water, but the exact same thing, I'm going to guarantee you, happens in that state. And what you hear is this chaotic vibration, this chaotic sound transforming into this organized music. Ding, ding, ding. It's like it goes, blah, blah, blah. And so that's what water does. Having adequate structured water transforms things from being chaotic to coherent. And our thoughts and our emotions play a huge role in having that water inside of us be in that coherent, structured state. So when my thoughts and my feelings are in that structure, helping my water be structured, the molecules and everything that lives in the water that's emitting sound is now in the symphony, and they're not just clanging outside like the garage band, they're actually in this beautiful organized symphony. So literally this translates to how our molecules are communicating throughout the entire network of our body. This isn't just isn't just woo, right? This is legitimate information out there. And I thought that was just such a cool way to literally hear how the molecules sound differently when they're in that beautiful, organized, structured liquid crystalline water.
I love that. It
was cool. One other thing that's kind of like popping into my brain before we have to wrap this up is this idea that I will 100% admit I have never have I ever done a New Year's resolution that worked.
Oh, interesting.
So when I look back on it, when I was like, well, let me change this about my exercise or about my nutrition or about my behavior or whatever it was, I'm very failed at New Year's resolutions. But I look back on it and I think I've changed hundreds of things in my life for the better. But
Yeah.
it's not about a really concentrated chunk of time and changing something
It
very
took a lot of
aggressively.
time. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's the little shifts. It's the
Yeah.
1s and
It's a
2%,
little,
right? The
yeah,
atomic
exactly.
habits that
Yeah.
add up over time. And so that's another one too. It's like maybe come spring, you're ready to do something that might shift or change, or maybe even right now. But it
Yeah.
could be as simple as starting your day off with a glass of water
Yes.
instead of coffee.
Yes.
Right.
Ooh,
Or the glass of water before the coffee, right? I don't even
yes.
care, right? It's like making these little shifts along the way
Yeah.
that add up. I probably have said this. I know we've said this on here before, but I remember a client one time, this was maybe 5 years ago, asking me, well, what are the things that you've really changed that you think have made a big difference? And I started listing it and I got to over 100 things. And I'm like, I can't present this list to anyone, right?
No,
Because that's
no.
overwhelming. But I
Right.
changed nothing in a big chunk. Literally, these are the little shifts over time
Yeah.
that have ultimately added up. And
Yeah.
so I really encourage people to view habit change and
Yeah.
behavior change that supports health, your work ethic, whatever it is, from that more atomic habits
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's essentially what I was cause I was on my call this morning and I could tell she was like, wow, I was telling her so much about how environment and everything changes the mitochondria and cell function. I'm like, but don't worry. We're going to get you a framework, but we're going to do this with you. And we're going to do it as you can, as your nervous system can handle.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, these are the really important small things. Like today, after we hang up, I want you to download the My Circadian app and I want you to know what time sunrise and UVA time is. And then tomorrow, all I want you to do is poke your head out the window 30 seconds at a time during those windows of time. And then tomorrow night, I want you to put on some blue blockers. That's where we're going to start,
Perfect.
Yeah. Cause
But it's perfect.
She hadn't really been through a lot of our content. And I was like, oh gosh, okay, well, we're really, really starting from ground zero. So this is it right now, today. More information will come later this week. More emails will come, more and more, but this is where you start here. And I want you to be really, really consistent before you cut out any foods, before you, do any of this stuff. These are the things we're going to change first. And then we'll, slowly bring in more. But yeah, if I was to tell, because like I said, I have a totally different life now than I did, but I'm a completely different person. I look different. Right. Everything in my life is totally different than it was before. Everything's different, but I didn't just wake up one day as this. Like it was years and years of just small little changes that I don't even remember when I made this particular change. Right. It just, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it continues.
It continues.
Right. I'm not just like, look at me. Right. I'm still always, you and I are continually evolving. And I mean, that's why I got my indigo Gabbro, right?
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
We're just continuing to evolve.
I'm doing NIV to balance.
Blue bottle love. Yeah.
Blue bottle love. I always pick one that's like something that I need to like embody. So right now my water has balance on it because I need to balance more time with my children, happiness, fun, than constantly like working and thinking about work. And I love working. I love it. It's fun. I'm so blessed with that. Yeah. But I also need to balance it a little bit better. So that came up.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. So
that's my view of things.
It's a journey. It's not a destination. And the journey can be little tiny steps and they can start in the spring. They don't have to start right
exactly. They don't have to start right now. Just go listen to some Joe Dispenza and turn on your red light panel and cozy up with a blanket and a nice, good glass of
structured water,
hydrogen mineral water.
I love it. That sounds great. I want to do that right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening.